September 2016, preservation workers on the 4th floor of a mansion in San Jose, California. Routine work. A section of plaster wall needs to come down. The plaster comes away. Behind it, a door. Sealed since 1906. They open it. Inside, a pump organ, still upright. A Victorian couch, still holding its shape after 94 years in the dark. A dress form standing in the middle of the room like someone had just stepped away from it. Paintings still on the walls. A sewing machine. Personal belongings exactly where they had been left. Nobody in the building knew this room was there. The house has 160 rooms. This one was the 161st room. And the woman who sealed it, she never came back, never explained it, and never took her things out. She plastered the door shut and walked away. My name is Annie, this is Arkan Realm, and tonight we are going to explore the Winchester Mystery House. You probably know the outline of the story. She was a rich widow, haunted by guilt, told by a medium to build forever or lose her life. The mad heiress, the house that never stopped growing. But the truth is, most of that story was invented by a writer named Susie Smith in 1967. She published it in a book called Prominent American Ghosts. The medium named Adam Coons. Nobody has ever been able to find any record of him. Even historian Mary Jo. She spent years researching Sarah Winchester's life for her 2010 biography, Captive of the Labyrinth, and found nothing. No meeting, no seance, no curse. What she found instead was this. Sarah Lockwood spoke 4 languages. She played piano. She was the kind of person the room organized themselves around. Everyone who knew her said some version of that. She married William Winchester in 1862. His family made rifles, the Winchester model, 1873. They had 1 child, a daughter, Annie, born July the 12th, 1866. Anna was 40 days old when she died. A wasting condition. Her body couldn't process nutrition. Sarah's grief lasted years. The brightness went somewhere. It couldn't easily be reached. She stopped playing pianos at gatherings. She wasn't the same person. Then her father-in-law died in December 1880, shortly followed by her husband 3 months later. He was only 43 at the time. Inside 15 years, Sarah Winchester had buried her daughter, her husband, her father-in-law, but she inherited $20 million, roughly $600 million in today's money. She had £1,000 a day coming in from the rifle company. She had it all, but nobody to come home to. In 1866, she bought a farmhouse in San Jose and she started building it. She built for 36 years. She built until the morning of September 5th, 1922, when she died in her sleep at the age of 83. And when the news reached her carpenters, They stopped mid-stroke, nails left half-hammered in the walls. They just put their tools down and walked away. By the time Sarah died, La Anada Villa, named after the region of Spain she and William had visited, had 160 rooms, 10,000 windows, 2,000 doors, 47 fireplaces, 40 staircases, 2 ballrooms, 6 kitchens, 3 lifts, and some rooms that make no sense by conventional measure, like staircases that climb 7 flights and rise only 10 feet, a skylight built into the floor, doors that open on a sheer drop where a second story used to be before 1906 earthquake took it, and Sarah never rebuilt it. Steps so shallow, 2 inches each, that you need 44 of them to climb 1 story. At least the stairs made sense. They were built that way because Sarah's arthritis made normal stairs too painful for her. But then a small door, no adult could pass through it. And one room, the most private room in the house, that Sarah called the Blue Room, that she visited alone every night. Then there was a bell tower outside that rang twice to announce midnight, and again at 2 a.m. After Sarah died, people who turned the house into a tourist attraction also renamed the Blue Room, and it's now called the Séance Room. I want to tell you what was found inside it. When the house was sold after Sarah's death, and people finally went through her things, inside a locked safe in the Séance Room, there was one item. One single item. The baby shoes of Anna Winchester, the daughter who lived for only 40 days in 1866. Sarah Winchester built a house with 160 rooms. She had 2 ballrooms, 6 kitchens. She had 3 lifts in an era when most people had never seen one. And the only thing she locked in that safe, in that room she sat alone every night for 36 years, was a pair of shoes too small to ever be worn again. The Séance Room is the most reported paranormal location in the house. Has been since the tours started in 1923. Staffs, visitors, investigators, 100 years of people walking into the room and reporting similar things. Voices when the room is empty, a sudden temperature drop, sharp, regardless of the weather outside, regardless of the season. A figure in Victorian dress seated in the chair at the center of the room. The chair Sarah used, still sitting in it. The accounts span a century. They come from people with no connection to each other, and they describe the same thing: a woman in a chair in Victorian dress. The temperature changes in the room where she kept her daughter's shoes. If you like stories like this, subscribe to Arkham Realm. I'll love to have you here. April 18th, 1906, at 5 a.m. in the morning, the great San Francisco earthquake with a magnitude of 7.9 hits the Winchester house. The shaking starts before anyone can move. The house is 7 stories at this point, and it becomes to come apart the tower collapses. Chimneys fall through the ceilings into rooms below. Sarah is in the Daisy bedroom. Fallen chimney traps her inside. She can't reach the door. She stays in the room for hours. Some accounts say as many as 10 hours, sealed in the dark and the dust inside the house she built, surrounded by everything she made. She was rescued, unharmed, but she ordered 43 rooms to be sealed. For the next 16 years, she worked only in the rear of the building and never returned to that part of the house. The simple explanation is that the repairs weren't worth the cost. And then, September 2016, a preservation team removes a section of plaster on the 4th floor, and they find a sealed door behind it. When they open the door, everything inside it is exactly as it was on the morning of the earthquake. The pump organ, the Victorian couch, the dress form, the sewing machine, the paintings still hung on the walls. She didn't take anything out before she sealed the room, exactly as they were, and plastered over the door, and she never went back in. I keep asking myself, why would you do that? Why would you leave your things in a room instead of taking them out? Why would you seal the door rather than repair it? And I keep coming back to one answer. Sometimes the doors get sealed because of what is on the other side of them. The Winchester Mystery House has been open to the public since 1923. Over 100 years of visitors, and the accounts from people who work there, the ones who are in the building alone at night when the tours have stopped. Those are the ones I find hard to dismiss. The Winchester Mystery House published this one themselves on their official website under the heading Rumors Hauntings at the State. A maintenance worker named Denny enters the water tower alone one morning. He hears footsteps above him. He climbs to find whoever is up there. The footsteps stay one floor ahead, every floor, all the way up. And then he finally reaches the roof and nobody's there. That's their own website telling you that. Then there is the former contracted employee who worked overnight shifts. Their account is documented by Travels for Ghosts in July 2025. They wrote, "I had the swing shift and some overnights. This is my personal opinion. Yes, there are entities that reside there. Sometimes I'd be sitting in the front garden and I'd see the gift shop automatic doors open and close by themselves, alone on the grounds late at night, watching the doors open for nobody." And then there is 1983. ABC 7 News sent a reporter named Stephen Davis to the Winchester Mystery House on Halloween night. He spoke to a couple who worked the overnight shifts, Debbie and Aaron. They were called the Night Watch couple. They described what it was like to be responsible for that building after dark. The company in empty rooms. The sense of a house that was occupied in ways they couldn't account for. Davis noted that every psychic who visited the property in the period said the same thing. The house is inhabited. On the Winchester Mystery House's own website right now, there is an active gallery. Visitors submit photographs they've taken on tours. The house reviews them and publishes them. On November the 2nd, 2025, last tour of the day, a visitor took a photograph in one of the rooms. When she looked at it later, she saw what appears to be a small girl. October the 14th, 2011. Ghost Adventures Season 5, Zak Bagans. Nick, Aaron, locked down overnight inside the Winchester Mystery House. In the Séance Room, EVP recordings picked up words directed at investigators by name. Nick's name, instructions to enter, and then directed specifically at Aaron, his name, and then one word. During the lockdown, Aaron was alone in a room. His demeanor shifted. Zak, watching on the monitor, said he didn't recognize what he was seeing on Goodwin's face. Goodwin's own account, he saw a dark figure standing behind Zak. And in that moment, he lost control of himself. At 1 o'clock in the morning, Zak received a call. His grandmother, unfortunately, had passed away in her home in Detroit, Michigan. And make of that what you will. These are documented accounts from investigators from the Travel Channel, from the episode Record. What happened inside the Winchester Mystery House on the night of October 14, 2011 is what people say happened. I'm just the one telling you about it. I want to go back to 2016 to room 161 because something happened the following year that I genuinely cannot explain. In April 2019, restoration workers in the North Dining Room, which was part of the original farmhouse when Sarah first purchased, before the house grew around it in every direction, they were removing a section of the plaster from the closet in the northeast corner. They find an envelope addressed to S.L. Winchester, postmarked July the 20th, 1894. The day before they found it, the day before, an architectural historian named Jim Wolfe had visited the Winchester Mystery House. He spent years searching for the origin of Sarah's stained glass windows, a question nobody had been able to answer for over 90 years. He came, he shared his conclusions, and then he left. But the next morning, behind the plaster that hadn't been touched for over a century, was the proof. The envelope bore the logo of Pacific American Decorative Company. Inside it, Sarah's own handwriting. The answer to the exact question Jim Wolfe had just answered himself. The Winchester Mystery House published their own account of this. They wrote that this was as if Sarah had finally decided to tell him. So this could be straightforward coincidence. The wall happened to be opened that week. Wolf's visit happened to fall the day before. Two unrelated events close together. That's a reasonable position to take. But Sarah put that envelope in the wall. She sealed it there. She addressed it to herself. And she left it. For over 225 years, she hid the answer to a question she knew somebody will eventually ask. And she waited. Here is what I think about when I think about Sarah Winchester. She had been the punchline of this story for over 100 years. The mad heiress, the grief-broken woman who let her trauma make her eccentric and strange. Tour guides for decades were told to play up the kooky angle. The 13th, the spirit stories, the never stop building mythology. One guide, quoted in Mary Jo's biography, said, "I feel so torn every time I have to talk about the kooky things. My heart breaks a little for Sarah." Her workers stayed with her. Every one of them was named in her will. She managed a $20 million estate with intelligence and care. She built something that millions of people are still visiting a century after her death. And she kept her daughter's shoes in a locked safe in the room where she sat alone every night. Whatever Sarah Winchester was doing, whether it was grief or belief or something she genuinely thought was speaking to her from the other side, she was doing it for someone. She was keeping things for someone, waiting for someone. The envelope was in the wall for over 125 years. Maybe she's just waiting for the right person to come looking. Before you go, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been somewhere that felt like it was holding something? A space that had weight to it, like it remembered something it wasn't going to share. A room, a building, somewhere that made you feel like you were the one being watched. Tell me about it in the comments below. I read every single one, and I want this to be a place where these stories actually get told. Or send me your story directly via Linktree. Links can be found in the description below. The next story is the strangest one yet. The Hat Man. People on every continent from every culture with no connection to each other, all describing the same figure standing in the dark. Tall, black, wide-brimmed hat, watching, not moving. We're going to talk about who he is, or what it is. The video is coming up next, to make sure you are here. Until then, stay curious and maybe leave the lights on.